Expensive, fancy carbon fibre mountain bikes are great, but there's a lot to be said about cheap bikes, and this is why they're so good. First of all, I'd admit this isn't the cheapest bike out there. This is the Canyon Stoic 4. So this comes in about £1,700, but it's much cheaper than most of my bikes and it's great, I love it. But you can get this version in a much more budget specs. It costs about £850, I think. Also, you know, look at that video I did last year with that Voodoo bike that I found for just over £300 secondhand. So you can get some great, really cheap bikes. And the best thing so far about them is they're really cheap to maintain as well. When you look at expensive bikes, you find some components, like those fancy cassettes, cost just as much as that bike I bought for £300 something. So they're just much cheaper to maintain than fancy premium bikes. If you do ever write off a rear mech or your drivetrain eventually wears out, then it's not going to destroy your wallet to replace those things. Whereas if you've got a high-end bike and you do that, then you're not going to want to downgrade, so it's going to cost you big money. With a cheaper bike, it might even be time to start upgrading a little bit. Maybe you can afford to be a little bit less precious about it as well. Now, don't get me wrong, most people's bikes are their pride and joy, no matter how much it costs them. But if you've spent thousands of pounds just on a frame and someone throws it in the back of their van and it scratches it, then you're probably gonna be pretty gutted. Also, if you're going down the cheaper end, you're probably gonna have like an aluminium or a steel frame. So they just are a bit more hardware and you can throw around a bit and you're not looking at depreciation for every little scratch you get on that bike. Another good thing is you might be more likely to be able to lend this bike to friends, or I should say more willing to lend it to friends, because it's not worth thousands and thousands of pounds. So it's also a great excuse to give it to one of your mates who's never tried out mountain biking. They can take it away for a spin, fall in love with it, and there's less risk of them breaking it and it costing hundreds of pounds to fix. So get someone else hooked on mountain biking and less stress for you at the same time. So that's a pretty good reason. Upgrades to a cheap bike are going to make more difference than if you do it on an expensive premium bike in the first place. Although having said that, in the last few years, components like Shimano drivetrains and SRAM have got so much better that even the lower end components are pretty good nowadays. But things like dropper posts, adding bigger brakes, change things that are going to make a massive difference to how that bike feels. And you wouldn't get that same effect with an expensive bike. The latest and greatest suspension dampers can only make so much difference. Those fancy coloured suspension legs, stanchions and the rear shocks, all very nice, but they don't make a huge amount of difference. Something that can make a big one is going from the cheapest sort of basic tyres to some proper good tyres. Spending money on rubber can really transform the way your bike rides. I think if you've got a more budget bike, I actually think that you appreciate it more. Now, I think back quite nostalgically to my younger years of just having a second-hand cheap bike and I knew every inch of it. And yes, I drooled over the other bikes in the videos and the magazines, but I loved the one I had and I really made the most of it. And when it came time to actually, save up the money for a newer, more expensive bike, I really appreciated that newer bike. But there's something to be said about keeping your cheap bike and just loving what you've got. One final thing, I think cheap bikes, or especially hardtails, are a great winter bike. Somewhere like the UK, where you slay your bike through mud or winter, can wear things out, it actually makes a lot of sense to have a cheaper bike just to ride in the worst conditions. Let me know your favourite things about the cheaper bikes out there. Don't shoot me because this isn't the cheapest bike out there. It's got a few upgrades as well, but it's definitely a a lot more pocket friendly than some of my bikes, and I absolutely love it. Give us a thumbs up if you love your cheap bike.